Hello 8th grade science students, and welcome to our first note-taking online. This first Cornell Notes is Astronomy in the Solar System, Cornell Notes. On the bottom of this page we see the Sun and the 8 planets. Pluto is on this picture, but it got kicked out as a planet. So the first planet closest to the Sun is Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, which has the rings, Uranus, and Neptune. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to get access to the video so you know how to access every single week when we have new Cornell Notes. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to go onto your haiku page via this link, rusdlearns.net. You're going to log into your account on the right hand side. Once you're on your haiku page, go to Mrs. McIntyre's 8th grade science class page. That's located on the left hand side. Once you get into Mrs. McIntyre's science page, you're going to click on the calendar. Since today we have a video, you're going to click on today's date, and that should have a link to the YouTube video. Every time you log in, click on the date that the assignment is due, and it will be able to access the link for the YouTube video. You can also access on the date the Cornell Notes on your computer. How to prepare. I want to talk about how to prepare for taking your Cornell Notes. It's really important to have a plan to figure out how can you be most effective in taking your Cornell Notes. The first thing you need to have is obviously your device, and you have to have a connection to the internet. It's really important because you can't do your homework that way. You need to have a new copy of the Cornell Note paper so you can have it right out in front of you at the desk so you can take notes during this presentation. You need a pencil, because when you take your Cornell Notes, you have to start out in pencil. It needs to be a quiet area where you can hear the video. If you need to turn the volume up or down, that's okay, but you need to be in a quiet area. How to watch the video. Some tools and strategies of how to watch the video are as follows. You need to listen carefully. Listen to everything I say. Rewind things if you need to. Turn up the volume if you need to. Just turn your listening ears on. I recommend watching the video one time through without taking notes or without looking at the paper. Then you can go back again and watch the video and pausing it and taking Cornell Notes. Just watching it once through is really helpful. Please write down any questions that you have and bring them into class tomorrow. You might have a question, you don't understand something, you might not know how to open your video, you might not know how to rewind. Just bring those questions in and we'll talk them about tomorrow. Always remember that you can pause and rewind at any time. You don't have to go through this video through the whole time. Just pause and rewind if you need to. So we're going to start off with the solar system. Below is a picture of the Sun, and the closest planet, like I said, is Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. These planets are close to the Sun, and so they're going to be a lot hotter. For example, if you have a fire and you're right next to the fire, you're going to be warm. If you're about 20 feet away, you're going to be nice and cold and icy cold. Then we have an asteroid belt, which is those little dots that look like little rocks on the screen. That's an asteroid belt. We will talk about that later. Then you have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. These planets are farther from the Sun, so they're going to be nice and icy cold. On the left-hand side, there's a picture of a shooting star, or it looks like a shooting star. That's called a comet. What makes up the solar system? It's going to be the Sun, planets, and smaller objects such as moons, asteroids, and comets. So we saw in this picture asteroids and comets, and we'll talk about those later. A great way to remember the planets in order closest to the Sun to farthest away is my very excellent mother just served us nachos. The my represents Mercury, the V represents Venus, the E represents Earth, the M represents Mars, the J represents Jupiter, the S represents Saturn, the U represents Uranus, and the N represents Neptune. So if you want to think of the planets in order from the Sun, remember my very excellent mother just served us nachos. In our solar system, the inner planets are rocky, while the outer gaseous planets are gaseous. There are 4 inner planets that are rocky, and there are 4 outer gaseous planets. So there's equal number of inner planets and equal number of outer planets. Please pause to take notes. Terrestrial planets. They are Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. They have a rocky crust and gaseous atmosphere. Features of the rocky planets are that they have tectonic plates, they have volcanoes, weathering and erosion, and impact craters. If you look at the picture of the Earth in the middle, it has a really, really small crust. That's where we are. That's where we play with the rocks and dirt. There's a mantle and a core. If you were to go to Earth or any of the other planets, you could stand on them because they are rocky and they have a gaseous atmosphere. Just like Earth, we have an atmosphere. Pause to take notes. Here's some pictures of the 4 planets that are terrestrial: Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Gas giants: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. They're very dense. They're very tightly compact. They're deep gaseous atmosphere and layers of clouds. And remember, these planets are going to be a lot cooler because they're farther than the sun. If you look at Saturn, it has a really thin mantle of water, ammonium, and methane ice, which are the gases and ices. The core is made of rock and ice. If you were to travel to these planets and you were to try to stand on them, you would fall right through to the core because the outer layers, like the mantle, they're going to be gases. So you'd fall right through. Please pause to take notes. Here's a picture of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Here's a great picture of all the planets, all 8 planets. And if you look at Mercury, Earth, Mars, and Venus, you can see how much smaller they are than Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. It's important to remember that the terrestrial planets, which are the 4 smaller ones, and the gassy planets are very different in size. Asteroids. Asteroids are small, solid, rocky bodies that orbit close to the Sun. An asteroid belt is located between Mars and Jupiter. Just like on the first slide I showed you, there's going to be an asteroid belt that has all those little asteroids, and they separate the Jovian, which are the gas giant planets, and the terrestrial planets. If you look on the bottom, there's a picture of an asteroid with all the little craters in it. A comet is a small, icy object that forms far from the Sun. So remember, objects or planets that are far from the Sun, they're going to be cold and icy. So there's a picture of a comet on the right-hand side. Pause to take notes. Here's a picture of the Sun in the center and Earth, and you can see the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter with all of those asteroids. Here's a photo of a popular comet called Halley's Comet. It's important to know that when Halley's Comet or other comets rotate around the Sun in an orbital pattern, they rotate in an elliptical shape or an egg shape. Comets rotate around the Sun in an elliptical or an egg shape. When you look at the planets like Earth and Mars, they're going to rotate around the Sun in a circular pattern. And here's just another example of how comets orbit differently or rotate around the Sun differently. A meteor and a meteorite are really similar words, but they have different meanings. So remember that meteor has a little bit different word than meteorite. And meteorites have the "ite" on the end. A meteor is a streak of light produced by small particles entering the Earth's atmosphere in a meteor shower. A meteor is a streak of light produced by a small object that enters the Earth's atmosphere. So on the bottom left-hand side, there's a picture of a meteor shower with the meteors only entering into the atmosphere. So that's why we see them as a line, and it burns up in the atmosphere, so it can't reach Earth. Meteorites, I remember this because they have the right to enter Earth. So meteorites are a space object that reaches the Earth's surface. So on the right hand side you see a picture of someone holding a meteorite, because meteorites have the right to enter Earth's surface, so you can actually find one and pick one up and have it. Pause to take notes. On the bottom I wrote a note that says please, please, please do your notes at home, because when we come to class you're going to answer your questions and the summary eventually, but you need to do these activities at home, or the notes at home, so you can do fun activities in class. If you don't do the notes at home, you cannot participate in the fun activities we have in class. It's really important you do your Cornell notes at home. Okay, thank you guys. Have a great night.